Danson here, and I want to let you know about my new podcast. It's called Where Everybody Knows Your Name, with me, Ted Danson, and Woody Harrelson. Sometimes. Doing this podcast is a chance for me and my good bud Woody to reconnect after Cheers wrapped 30 years ago. Plus, we're introducing each other to the friends we've met like Jane Fonda, Conan O'Brien, Eric Andre, and trust me, it's always a great hang when Woody's there.
Listen to Where Everybody Knows Your Name on the SiriusXM app or wherever you get your podcasts.
When you get out of the car, anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more. Anything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
SiriusXM celebrates Black Music Month with Black Music Forever, a limited edition channel with hip-hop, R&B hits, and breaking music from Black artists. Black Music Forever, throughout the month in the SiriusXM app. SiriusXM.com/BMM for more info.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. Let's see. There you go. There you go. Let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe and reparations, and that would include you and the next president of the United States of America, be it the next or the incumbent. If you don't vote for reparations, you're not gonna be next president. And that's my story, and I'm taking with it on a beautiful Monday, June 24th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you, where the good Lord split you. And hopefully, the good Lord didn't split you too wide. And like this strike, if you guys split too wide, I want to say what a beautiful day with Big C Sports Podcast. I love bringing you the show. Got some NHL hockey. What do they say? Do you believe in miracles in your life? Yes, get the net. Get the net. Get the hole, Big C. Net, hole, same thing. Sometimes you fish with a net, and you have an easier job trying to find fish. All friend, love of war. They say the dirt will come out in the wash. You have the Florida Panthers taking on the Edmonton Oilers. If the Oilers are going to win, they got to find a way to make that little bit more oil on the ice. You don't want to put oil on the ice? Yeah, because a Panther can't run on oil. But at the same time, if a Panther gets to the ice cube Edmonton Oilers. If the Panther gets to the ice before the Oilers, it has a chance to win. All I can tell you, I think the team that wins tonight will be the team that scores the most points. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And no one's ever refuted that, if that makes sense to you. I want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast, today's show is a great show. It's a Game 7 for NHL hockey. And Game 7s are always amazing because it decides who's gonna win and who's not going to. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And whether it's going to be the Florida Panthers or the Edmonton Oilers, it's about détente depending on peace between Canada and the United States. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the land that we won, to look gallantly leaping, and the rockets red glare of the first beating gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Man, I would have done the national anthem. That's Big C's version. I won't leave you out, Canada. I don't know if I knew all the words for Canada. Oh, my God. Oh, what is the Canada national anthem? Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Enough! Okay, I used to know the national anthem for Canada. Oh, well. Oh, Canada. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. I'm doing the best I can. You try it. Going live. Not knowing all the words. But I did the best I could for old Canada. And hopefully, we want the real singers next time. Okay, well, you can get the real singers next time. I want to say I produced the show. I also sing national anthems. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agents. We could all use more laughter. And professional singers for anthems in our lives, if that makes sense to you. And then, as I always say, the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play. Man, lightning strike! Do you believe in miracles? And I think we're going to see some good performances on ice tonight. Looking for the Lord Stanley's Cup. Where'd you put that cup, Mixie? They put that cup. A lot of men, they share that same cup. You ever share the same cup with somebody? There's a lot of flora running around in those cups. Flora? Yeah, Google flora. When you start sharing cups with people, sometimes you take in their flora. Not always a good thing. Me lightning strike if you take on somebody's flora. I don't know how they drink after man, drinking after cup, sip after sip after sip, and you don't know where their mouths have been. You don't know where their mouths have been. So be careful when you drink another cup of another man to just drink out of it. That's gross to me. But sometimes people do gross things. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. And then the show is uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And then streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. And I really do appreciate that. And then, Martina, I never missed a show. Never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. And I really do appreciate that. I also want to make sure that I may not have done the national anthem properly. Yeah, you're probably right about that, Big C. But I do know the Veterans Crisis Hotline. It's a great line for people. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's always nice when somebody's leaning back, if that makes sense to you. You can also make sure that they do a good job helping our veterans get help whether you're texting the line or calling the line or going online to do the same thing. You know anybody that needs help, try to get us some help. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. If that makes sense to you. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. May lightning strike. Oh my God, reparations are happening. I say it's going to happen before this election. Because what did Flip Wilson say? He said, loose lips sink ships. If you realize, even Steve Harvey and there's some other TV personalities that are saying for the black vote would be the swing vote in this year's election, 2024. And what I hear from a lot of people, whether it's Wollongong, whether the great Tim and Marvell, where there's other programs, Double O, Economic Liberators Talks, Let's Eat. I hear it from National Black Wall Street Project. I hear it from a lot of people who read, and even I hear it from a lot of white constituents and politicians. No reparations, no vote. That has to make sense to somebody, because it's the most seminal moment in this country that people start getting behind the push for reparations. And I think it's the right thing to do. We want to be like the Just Act. The Just Act that the United States Justice Department is making sure that the descendants of the Holocaust get their land and get their other heirs, things that were taken. And no one complains, but they did it through submission of documentation to the court. I think sometimes we as African Americans, we want to march. We want to march up and down the street when it's hot, 105 degrees. People are passing out because it's so hot. And then you have some of our other brethren, like Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Scott out of Florida. They went to the court and made sure they filed motions to make sure that the descendants of the Holocaust continue to get their reparations. And I think we can learn from that, because it takes good people, you people, to make sure that reparations happens. So I love doing that. I love being a part of that group. I got to tell you also, with Big C Sports Podcast, I have some things that are coming up that are really important. And for tomorrow at the state capitol in California, and I'm gonna be there as National Black Wall Street Project in the Appropriations Committee. The hearings will be held, I believe, on June 26th. I'm believing that's what it is. June 26th. It's at 9:30 a.m. And next week, the committee hearing, there will not be a vote on whether the bills pass. Instead, the committee will vote to send the bills, what we call the suspense file, because our bills cost more than $150,000, which is the rule for any bill to cost more than that. The committee will then hold a second hearing called the suspense file hearing, and probably sometime in early to mid-August, that would be the hearing that will determine whether or not the bills pass and go to the Assembly floor. It's coming around the mountain for Governor Gavin Newsom to sign off on the Reparations Task Force bills. Over 1,100 pages that have been put together in the task force bill. Some people say it's 1,065, but even though 1,100 pages, and obviously it's by good people, smart people, you people that want to do the right thing. And so I appreciate that, and I love, with Big C Sports Podcast, being a part of that. Everybody has their own opinion about what to do. You want to do the right thing, and I want to make sure that I do what's called the right thing. And when you have someone that's on your side, they don't deceive you, they work with you. And I believe that the state Senate and the Assembly and the legislature of California are sincere when they do the right thing. That's my straight up ticket with it. But I also want to make sure I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force, because I'm probably the only sports show in the universe that pays homage to it. A lot of other people sucking and jiving, and that's okay. Everybody does what they want to do. Some people don't like my style. They may not like the way I cook my collard greens. I was walking around the house this morning, and I was eating on some collard greens, and I was eating on some watermelon. Collard greens and watermelon? Yeah, there's something about the taste of it. It's not as good as lemon meringue pie, but it sure does taste good. But I think the California Reparations Task Force They've done such a great job. The inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of the State of California, working with the California Governor Gavin Newsom, and getting good people, the believers, the people that want to put pen to paper, not people that just want to argue and say, oh, it's never going to happen, Big C. Well, when it does happen, sign an affidavit that I get your money. That's what I want to hear from all the naysayers. Sign an affidavit that Big C gets all your money. If you believe, oh, Big C, there you go again with those reparation talk. Well, I believe it's going to happen, and it's already happening. We've already gotten some good work with the California Senator Stephen Bradford. But I want to take time to give praise to the Reparations Task Force. I want to thank, as I mentioned, the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, Secretary of the State of California, and then California Governor Gavin Newsom, who put together the task force. The chair, Camila Moore, she's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Amy C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He's actually been on the Big C Sports podcast. I want to give praise to I want to give praise to California Senator who's like a doctor. The California Senator Stephen Bradford, he's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He crafted name, image, and likeness that helps college student athletes get their money for their name, image, and likeness. There was a time when only went to white people, the coaches, and the administrators, if that makes sense to you. He also helps the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same amount of resources into finding black children as the Amber Alert puts into finding white children. And that's important. He did that. He also is one of the most brilliant men out there when it comes to pen to paper. I haven't seen him march, but I've seen him do pen to paper. And when he was in the State Assembly and in the Senate, he spoke like Moses. In Exodus 10, when Moses was talking to God, and God said, go down into Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And Moses said, well, who do I tell him to send me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And Moses went down there and told Pharaoh what God said. And Senator Bradford reminds me of that. He looks like Jesus according to Revelation chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 9, and 10 and 6, that Christ has skin the color of brass. And when Senator Bradford stood in front of the Senate and the Assembly, and God told Senator Bradford, he said, go down to the Senate and the Assembly and tell them I said pass the reparations. And Senator Bradford said, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And you know they passed it. They're going to keep passing it. They're going to keep passing and passing and passing it. It's like first and goal from the 1 yard line, and the late Daniel Curiel for the Chargers said, pass it. He told Dan South to pass it to Ahmad Rashad. If that makes me deal. And I want to give Senator Bradford some praise. I also want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to our attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She's also an expert when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to our attorney Donald K. Tabaki. He's brilliant, part of the California Reparations Task Force. If you believe in miracles, give him praise. Do you believe in miracles? Remember the United States beat Soviet Union, beat Russia in the Olympics, I believe 1972, somewhere in there. Do you believe in miracles? And yes, I do believe in miracles. And I believe in reparations. And with Big C Sports Podcast, sometimes people say, oh, Big C, why you talk so much about reparations? Because Big C Sports was also interviewed by Janie Har, the Associated Press. Would you believe? It was after I spoke. I went down to check on my car and see if I had any collard greens left over for lunch. And I got a phone call. Ring, ring. Hello. Hi, is this Charlton Curry? Yes, this is Charlton. How can I help you? Hi, this is Janie Hart, the Associated Press. I said, how'd you get my number? She said, oh, we have our ways. I said, well, how can I help you? She said, I heard you speak at the Reparations Task Force, and I wanted to call and get your opinion. I said, if you heard me speak, you know my thoughts. I believe in reparations now, reparations forever. And I do mean that. You know, she printed it in the article. It was it was March 30, 2023. It was picked up. It's the Associated Press. Also picked up by CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, and Fox News. And I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man from Dimdale Hills, California, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I believe in reparations now, reparations forever. And that's why I support the California Reparations Task Force. Because I believe in it. I believe that a mind is a troubled thing to waste. And it's not just my thoughts. there are a lot of people that believe in doing the right thing. If you believe in doing the right thing, it's always the right time to do the right thing. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to tell you also, before I do a commercial, that I'm not the only one that believes in reparations. I want to play you one of the greatest speakers in the history of the universe.
A couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Reparations now, reparations forever. Reparations now, reparations forever. I love doing Big C Sports, and I just look for people who are honest, just tell the truth. The dirt will come out in the wash. We just had the celebration of Negro League Baseball down in Alabama, where they have one of the few museums in the country where they have plaques hanging from the ceilings that is symbolic of black men and women being lynched, men, women, and children, and hanging from trees. So there's a museum that can rip your heart out that has the names of these plaques hanging from the rafters and from the ceiling. Well, baseball did nothing to talk about reparations, as they just paid homage to the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, and from the Negro Leagues to Major League Baseball, oftentimes they don't tell you what the black men went through. The original people on the planet, 9 series DNA, all life began in Africa, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel. Google them, the world's most foremost paleontologists and scientists. All life came from Africa. But when we talk about reparations, it oftentimes our black men sit around going, touchdown, home run, 3-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way. Well, people don't oftentimes see what happens when you don't have on a uniform. But listen to the words of Reggie Jackson of what it was like playing in the Negro Leagues and why we need reparations now.
Hello, everybody. I am attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. And each and every week, we bring you at least one legal analysis of some story trending regarding politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture. This week, there was a very touching moment from one of my all-time favorite baseball players, the great Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson made some comments about racism in baseball that I want to talk about for a few minutes. Stay with me.
The baton has been passed for over a century here. We've been talking earlier about if it wasn't for the Willie Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Reggie Jacksons, the three of us wouldn't have an opportunity to play. How emotional is it for you to come back to a play that you played with one of the greatest teams around?
Alex, when people ask me a question like that, it's like coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person, you think you won when you played here and conquered. I said, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, can't eat here. I would go to a hotel and they said, can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat in the place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. They were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager, and Rudy, Fingers, and Duncan, and Lee Myers, I would have never made it. I was too physically violent. I was ready to physically fight some. I'd have got killed here because I'd have beat someone's ass, and you'd have saw me in an oak tree somewhere.
Reggie, I can't even imagine. It's awful you had to go through that, but
reparations now, reparations forever.
Really,
that's the only thing they didn't say. It's about reparations, and that's why Big T Sports is here.
That is the great Reggie Jackson, and you heard Reggie talk about Bull Connors. He was the police commissioner of Birmingham, Alabama, when those 4 little black girls, those 4 babies, were killed in a church bombing. It was one of the most heinous acts of the civil rights movement. And if you think things have changed a lot, then all you got to do is think about what happened in the church in Charleston, South Carolina, Mother Emanuel, where a young white racist went into that church, sat and had Bible study with those people. They welcomed him with open arms. And after he finished Bible study, he pulled out a 9mm, I think it was, and murdered 9 people and left 1 living so she could tell what she witnessed. When I tell you that this country is deeply, deeply racist, deeply, I'm not making this up. It wasn't long after those 9 people were murdered in that Charleston church, Mother Emanuel, that a white racist went to Buffalo, New York, and killed, murdered in cold blood 10 people. It was right around the time that 3 white racists murdered Ahmaud Arbery. And the list goes on and on and on and on. Racism is so pervasive in this country that it is everywhere, including professional baseball. They asked Reggie Jackson a question, and man, did he answer it. And he gave stark details. Now, before I go further with that, let me say this. I love the game of baseball. It is my first sport. It is my first love in terms of a sport. I played the big 3 sports in school. I played baseball, again, my very first sport. I played Little League baseball in my hometown. The name of my team was the Orioles. I was a little guy. I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. I love the sport. I also played basketball. I played football. But my first love was the game and is the game of baseball. One of the things my wife and I love to do is we love to go to a baseball game here. We have the Texas Rangers, and we've had some good seasons, obviously, and we've had some bad seasons. But I love baseball, and I so well remember Reggie Jackson. He retired, I believe it was in 87. I think it was, I'm not sure about that. But I remember him winning one of the 5 World Series that he has. I was actually stationed in, let me get to some information here. I was actually stationed in Oakland, California, when Reggie was playing baseball. And I remember the year that in fact, I was in Oakland the year that the Oakland A's won the World Series. But a little bit about Reggie. He played 21 seasons in Major League Baseball. Again, he played for the Oakland A's. He played for the Baltimore Orioles. He played for the Yankees. He played for the Angels. And he also played minor league baseball. So he was selected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1993. Overall, he had 2,584 hits over his career. Won 5 World Series. That is a lot. I'm telling you, Reggie was a great, great baseball player. And so when we talk about baseball, obviously we also have the Negro League that brought so many great baseball players into Major League Baseball. Folks like Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige, and some others that I can't think of right at this moment. And then, of course, there were the greats that I remember as a young boy. I remember Willie Stargell. I remember the great Willie Mays, who passed recently. May he rest in peace. Vida Blue. I could go down the list of great black baseball players. But I didn't know that they were dealing with the type of stuff that Reggie just described. I mean, that is horrible, being treated that way. And, I mean, he kind of held that close to himself. I never heard about that. And so he tells this, and some people are shocked. Why is anyone shocked that a black man in the 70s experienced racism in Birmingham, Alabama? That's Birmingham, Alabama. That is the home of some of the most racist, white supremacist, ugliest, meanest people, racists in the world. Birmingham, Alabama. I just know in history, where the civil rights movement is concerned, just an awful, awful place. And so why anybody is surprised that even Reggie Jackson experienced that. And we know that Reggie Jackson and Willie Mays, Willie Stargell, Vida Blue, and then these more recent players, Barry Bonds, A-Rod, those guys that were sitting at the table there, Big Papi, Jeter, all of those guys, great baseball players. They're They are idols for some kids, including many white kids, but they still dealt with their stuff, especially back in the 70s. So I don't know why anyone is shocked. I am sorry that Reggie Jackson went through that, but that is what, as Childish Gambino said, this is America. And it's the reason why I do what I do. It's the reason why our mission statement is defying this unjust legal system and nullifying systemic racism. Because the battle, the fight, is not over. Not by a long shot. In fact, anytime you have one of the two major political parties operating under the banner of Make America Great Again, that tells me that they're looking back to those days where church bombings occurred regularly, black people were lynched regularly, and we dealt with straight up, outright Jim Crow. Now, I can't mention Jim Crow without thinking about Byron Donalds. Unfortunately, Byron Donalds is on record saying, or at least implying, that black families were doing better during Jim Crow. Well, Reggie Jackson just gave us just a small sample of what Jim Crow was all about. Even he, a famed baseball player, probably wasn't as well known then and honored then as he is now. But even he, if Reggie Jackson, the great Reggie Jackson, was called the N-word because he needed a place to sleep or a place to eat, can you imagine what other African American people dealt with? And again, this was in the 70s. I'm old enough to remember, I've told you all this, I'm 62 years old. I can remember the tail end of Jim Crow. I remember it was in my third grade year that public schools were integrated. And that would have been in I would have been, if it was my third grade year, I think I was maybe 8 years old. I was born in 62. So that was 1970, which was 16 years after the Brown versus Board of Education case. Because even after those two cases were handed down, white people fought the integration of public schools so hard that it took another 15 years of actually integrating the schools. And the U.S. Supreme Court was part of that problem because in Brown versus Board of Education 2, it said all deliberate speed. It used that term, which means you don't have to rush this. And they did not rush it. But yes, if the great Reggie Jackson, and you could tell the guy was almost in tears as he recounted that. But I so applaud him for being raw, candid, and open about what he experienced. I have often heard about the so-called Chitlin Circuit, which was black athletes, black entertainers would have to stay when they traveled in the South. They couldn't stay at regular restaurants. They couldn't stay at regular hotels and eat at regular restaurants. They had to stop at the African American hotels, which were not many, there were some. They certainly weren't, most of them, as nice as those in the white community, but they couldn't stay there. I remember hearing some of the entertainers, I think the Motown entertainers, those different groups, the Temptations, Smokey Robinson, the Supremes, and on, talking about how they would have to just hold themselves when they needed to release themselves because they couldn't stop to a gas station or to a hotel or restaurant. They had to wait or stop beside the road somewhere and relieve themselves. That's called the chicken circuit. And so Reggie was actually relaying to us what his experiences were on the chicken circuit. So I had to just talk about this for two reasons. One, again, to just use Reggie's experience to say this is the reason why we do what we do, because we're still in a fight. We're still in a fight. And secondly, I love the game of baseball, and I love Reggie Jackson. All right, so that's what I wanted to share with you from this story. We got to keep on fighting until we get exactly what we're entitled to, which is full equality. Full equality and reparations. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Warriors. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me as I talked about the sport that I love first, as I talked about one of my favorite athletes, and unfortunately, as I talked about America's original and continued sin, the sin of racism and white supremacy. Until the next time, peace.
Reparations now, reparations forever. Reparations now, reparations forever. You just heard on Big C Sports Attorney Augustus Corbett with the Defiant Lawyers. Talking about baseball, we just had the Major League Baseball pay homage to the Negro Leagues down in Alabama, but they mentioned nothing about reparations, and they still think they're going to get your vote. They still think they can get your vote after you even hear about some of our greatest sports legends who were treated like crap. And people say, oh, that was a long time ago, Big C. Well, the baseball game was just last week on Thursday down in Alabama. And it takes good people to come together, black and white, to push for reparations. So I'd rather follow California Senator Stephen Bradford and Attorney Augustus Corbett, the California Secretary of State Shirley Weber, when it comes to reparations, the National Black Wall Street Project. And I want you to know that the decent people in the Senate and the Assembly, they were Caucasian, that made these bills go through. These are not the days of old where Governor Wallace said segregation now, segregation forever. Those days are over. But there are still people who buy into that crap, and they're the ones who say, oh, we don't need to pay no reparations. Yes, we do. And that's why good people, you people, are going to help pass reparations. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I say, I know we got the chase for Lower Stanley's Cup, but I also got a commercial that I'm a part of because I believe in being part of the solution and not the problem. Wherever there's a problem, show me the solution. I got an infomercial that I'm doing. It's called A Guide to Protect, Preserve, and Transfer Wealth Resource Development Consulting in conjunction with the law offices of Scott Thibodeau and attorney George Jones, The Missing Link, Long-Term Care, Solutions by the Book, over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors get their benefits. Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. Other places, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. Find out your options, 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. I promise to you to specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits. Protection of your assets without the spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities. That's important. Prescription medications. That's important. Medical equipment costs. That's important. And more, not only that, protection of your assets. The same way Reggie Jackson was saying it took some people like Charlie Finney to help protect his assets because some of the good old boys wouldn't allow African Americans to go to any restaurant or hotel they chose to. Just like the RDC team and the Big C team. Protection of your assets. Now, Fox Sports did the interview. You had the Big Papi was right there, along with Alex Rodriguez. And there are people who talk about sports and the great Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson. But just like Big C Sports, I'm proud for Reggie Jackson having the balls that you can hit a baseball bat with. If that makes sense to you. Protection of your assets. That's important to me. It's in my spirit. Including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. Avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate can be between 10 to 40%. And that's egregious. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums. for the rest of your life. Not only that, I'm not done yet. Asset protection. Protection? What kind of protection, Big C? Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care. Avoid probate. Life insurance policies, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. Your fixed assets, bank account, checking account, your savings account, money market account, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed indexed annuities. What about variable assets? I'm glad you asked. Real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, other investments. Avoid capital gains on the step-up basis. Say you buy a house for $100,000. Let's say in 1 year it appreciates to $1 million. According to some real estate brokers, they say what they got to say to get it sold. That's a $900,000 capital gains. You avoid that when your property's in a trust over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners. Find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And when you call in, tell them Big C sent you. If that makes sense to you, may lightning strike if you don't call in. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love saying, not only that, when you call somebody and they're telling you that they want you to look at their programs and their products, oftentimes people will not do what I'm about to do right now. Because when I tell you with the RDC team, not only do I say get a second opinion, I give you references. Most people will not tell you to get references. Why do you tell people to get references, Big C? Because the dirt comes out in the wash, and the truth will set you free. And when I tell you that we have the references, you got to say, well, if they trust the RDC team and the Big C team, then so can you. That's why I love giving out references, and you don't have to go try to chase them down on your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So whenever someone says, well, Big C, why would I listen to what you're saying and do my trust and my estate planning for you? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we have the endorsement of Mr. George Jones. He's the chair of the California Black Chamber of Commerce. Not only that, he's also the chair of the California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Not only that, we have Mr. Leon Woods. He's with RDC. He also works with many lobbyists in the state of California. Not only that, we have Ms. Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. Not only that, we have Mr. Ray De La Cruz. He's the CEO, had the endorsement of the late CalPERS top legal mind, the late Robert Carlson. He endorsed the RDC team. Not only that, we have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veteran Benefits. Not only that, but he endorses the RDC team. We have Big C Sports, Charlton Curry, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. I endorse the RDC team. Not only that, I'm a consultant with the RDC team and also owner of Big C Sports Podcast, and I endorse the RDC team. I can speak on a personal note why I do. Not only that, we have Double O, part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. She endorses the RDC team. You can hear her on Access Sacramento, if that makes sense to you. I'm telling you, there's so many things that are important when it comes to endorsements. So I always say, no matter what you do, get a second opinion. I'm one of the only sports shows in the universe that will offer a second opinion. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You heard from attorneys. You heard the voice of Dr. King. You heard the great Reggie Jackson talking about reparations. And when I say they can say even more loud and proud, it's reparations now, reparations forever. Because if you're a good person, you want to do the right thing. That's important. So as I say, we have tonight, we have Game 7 of the NHL's chase for Lord Stanley's Cup. Do you believe in miracles? The great Al Michaels called that game. Back in the day, it was United States versus Russia, and the U.S. hockey team won. And now we have a great opportunity to sink our teeth into some cold ice and in some hockey. If you want to sit on your sofa and watch the hockey game, and you want to eat some collard greens and some watermelon and some chicken, and you want to have some pumpkin pie and some lemon meringue pie, you can have it all. But I wish the very best to these great athletes that are chasing Lord Stanley's Cup. Nobody knows who's going to win this game tonight, but I have a clue. Would you like to hear it? And I believe this is all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I believe the team that scores the most points, they're going to win this game tonight. Big C, listen to what I got to say to you with some hockey.
Adam Henrik along with Connor Brown and Matthias Janmark, the wingers who have opened the scoring in each of the last 2 games. So I just think the energy in here is incredible. So the Oilers trying to build off of that, and the Fort Panthers trying to stay alive through it. Oh, Draisaitl testing Bobrovsky here. There is Janmark. Then Bobrovsky stops and holds. Matthias Janmark talked about the team being more confident when they do get backed up in their own zone. And there's a high stick by Perry, who flung the head back but doesn't get a call. McDavid trying to slide it through for Hyman, and Hyman will cycle it down. Victor Hopkins to McDavid up top. Bouchard checked away by Bobrovsky. McDavid on him. Echo. Bouchard. Here's Evan. Bouchard. And that's stopped him. Bobrovsky holds on. Nick Reinhardt played for Chris Knobloch with the boot the ice in his first year of junior. In fact, as a 15-year-old played along with his brother. Here's Draisaitl working in. Leon Draisaitl in front.
Reparations now, reparations forever. Maybe they'll champion that as they chase Lord Stanley's Cup. I just had to bring you some hockey the way Big C Sports does it. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Reparations now, reparations forever. You just gotta love it. I mean, you can't tell me, once you listen to this, you can't say that you didn't hear how important it is for reparations when you hear it come out of the mouth of attorneys. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. It all comes down to this. After the Florida Panthers opened up a 3-0 lead on the Edmonton Oilers in the 2024 Stanley Cup Final, many believe this series was all but over, and then Connor McDavid and his friends, some good old boys, they outscored the Panthers by a combined score of 18-5 en route to tying the series up at 3 games apiece, becoming just the third team in NHL history to do so in the Lord Stanley Cup Final, where the Oilers pull off the historic reverse sweep. Can the Panthers avoid the pain, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat? Everything you need to know before the puck drops tonight. Tonight's the night! The great Rod Stewart sang that song back in the day. What's at stake for each team? Key players to advance the whole Lord Stanley's Cup. Reputation's important. If you lose when you're up 3-0, it's hard to save face. The Panthers have been afterthoughts of most of the franchise's history. Florida lost in the 1996 Stanley Cup Final, and they made just 4 playoff appearances without a winning round through the next 23 years. It was a team of players aspired to join at the end of their careers, and when it was more about the climate and less about the potential to win, and the Florida Panthers were used to an arena filled with the opposing fans, capitalizing on their cheap tickets in a sunny locale not readily available in most hockey markets. A nice perk perhaps, but not what you want to do to win a game, let alone win a championship. But let me say what's at stake for the Oilers. Not the Houston Oilers, but the Edmonton Oilers. In a word, legacy. Edmonton is one of those places where winning isn't just enough. There must be something additional about the way the team won. We played to win the game. The Oilers haven't just won 5 Stanley Cups. They've won 5 Stanley Cups in 7 seasons. May lightning strike if they don't get another win. And they didn't simply have great players. They had some of the greatest players of all time, with one of them being the greatest player ever winning his hockey particular Stanley Cup. Not only adds to their legacy, but it enhances even more a franchise that has gone from being the standard to being the sellers, and now a win away from returning to the pinnacle. It's a chance to pull off what would be the greatest comeback in NHL history, maybe the greatest comeback in North American professional sports. Do you believe in miracles? And they're trying to get it done tonight. You got to realize this team is about destiny. They were down 3-0. If they win Game 7 tonight in the Lord Stanley Cup, prove all those decisions correct, not only If that losing Game 7 and the Stanley Cup would condemn every aspect of the franchise's past, but it would lead to more questions about this great team. A Game 7 win would give the Oilers an opportunity to say they won it, regardless of what happens going forward. May lightning strike! Do you believe in miracles? It's a great setting. Whenever you have a winner-take-all, you got to appreciate that. I just want to see the very best of what hockey has to offer. I know in America, people love football, basketball, baseball, but hockey's doing its thing too. And I wish the very best. May lightning strike if we don't have a winner tonight. See, this is a final game. Okay, so there will be a winner tonight. Just making sure. You know, some people always want to come in and give you their 2 cents because that's all they got. It's 2 cents. But either way, I'm saying it would just make sense if the Oilers came back from 3 games to none and won it. If they won, it would also make sense if the good old boys, the Panthers won, being up 3 games to none, and then the springs are getting tight like a duck sitting on ice. And if they come back and win, what a great series. No matter what it is, I'm happy for hockey. I'm happy that we had the chance to listen to Reggie Jackson in his own words talk about the racism that he played with in the Negro Leagues and how we have some attorneys that want to talk about doing the right thing with reparations. It's not just Big C Sports. I love being a part of that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Do you believe in miracles? Of course you do. That's why you follow the Big C Sports Podcast. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy on my mother's side. My great-grandparents, Mama and Pop, love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My grandparents, Muddia and Hezekiah, love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I could always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and coached an all-boys and Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. The best person I've ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I'll be your angel. You can pick me on top of the tree. You know what I'm talking about, mama. I love you with all I got. And then on my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they own 3 churches. They own 2 gas stations. I was 8 years old, and they also own 40 acres of land. I was 8 years old walking through the hallway in Oakland, and I felt someone touch me in my forehead. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And she said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies?" I said, "What are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man, going to get some cookies?" I said, "Cookies and baby crap, what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." And a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long week. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And now I'm on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always saying go forward. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. A voracious reader, he would say you always go forward because you don't get much in the backside when you look back. I said, I like my backside, if that makes sense to you. You know how brothers do it. Todd, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can do anything you want to do. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Daisy helped me set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast. It was back at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It was because of 2 black men in the crew, and Daisy set it up. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. And then my handsome, beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, every night a good man. Malcolm always trusts God. Isaiah 54:17. You can be anything you want to be. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers looking up stats for players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went up. I've been Googling ever since. And now on 29 podcast platforms, streaming on 4 TV platforms. One day Malcolm said, "Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up." That's before it was even on the air. And now streaming on 4 TV platforms, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God and always pray. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, Always saying you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. Saying let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. As we nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-minute teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. I do my show with that gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. And listen, that's how you talk to God. And that's why I scream so loud, if that makes sense to you. I believe with all my heart, mind, body, and soul, God, you can do anything. And I trust you, and I love you. You know my dreams. You know what I confess. I won $6 million because I too may want to buy a professional sports team. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got to tell you, on every Big C Sports show, always tell you, my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. You need more LEADER in your life. LEADER is an acronym for Love is the Answer. Reggie Jackson talked about it. If you know anybody going beside your head, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go to that crap. If somebody's kicking you, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go to that garbage. If somebody's choking you out, call 911 because no one should ever have to put up with that crap. And when you call the police, things change. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. Not only do you get a $10,000 fine, you lose your license for a year, and you might just go to jail. Why would you do that? The life you say may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you, or somebody who loves somebody else. Just don't drink and drive. Okay? That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, back in the day, back by popular demand, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how could you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, it gets into my spirit. I want to go reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. There was no fighter greater than Muhammad Ali. Well, you heard it with your own two eyes, and you seen it with your own two ears. Eyes and ears, Big C. You know what I'm saying. You heard it with your own two ears, and you seen it with your own two eyes. That's more like it. Okay, that's more like it. But as I always tell you, come on, President. The black vote is like gold and dim their hills. You want to have reparations now? Reparations forever. Say it like you just won the Stanley Cup. You want to cheer reparations now? Reparations forever. Say it loud and proud like you at the concert that you went to last year. You want to chat with reparations now? Reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super duper fantastic day.